What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So this upcoming week is going to be a fairly big deal for NIO, whether it does break below that 50-day moving average and consolidates, or whether we retest that 200-day moving average. Starting off with data points, we do have some manufacturing data coming out Tuesday evening, so that could be a pretty big deal. And based on the forecast, it looks like there is a certain level of expansion anticipated. So again, that's kind of a good thing. Wednesday onwards, we do have a lot of conferences, and this is where a lot of discussions for new policies and various things are like discussed. And so ultimately we won't be getting any like new stimulus packages, but at least you'll see a foundation of it being a topic. So if people are talking about it, then you know the market generally likes to skip a couple steps and starts to price it in. So once again, that could potentially happen. So that's pretty much the rest of the week. So as far as data points, that is it. Market is going to be digesting this right here. So the states kind of strikes on Iran. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, how does this affect NIO? This doesn't affect NIO. You are completely correct. It should not affect NIO other than just global issues. Every economy and kind of market generally goes down because of that, only because of kind of the domino effect, what it might cause, might kind of drag in Russia, might drag in China. So I think the big thing about this is like Iran's allies, like as far as retaliation or even just Iran retaliating, that is going to be what the market does truly look at. So again, that's going to cause a certain level of volatility. When it comes down to companies putting out their earnings, there is a lot of big names and a lot of big names as well that have direct correlation with consumers. And again, I know it doesn't affect NIO exactly, but it does through algorithmic trading. And unfortunately, the last several trading days, we've seen absolutely no transactions occurring on the secondary market. So what's been moving NIO has just been simply shorts, doubling and tripling down, and then you have algorithmic trading. So this is why I do bring up a lot of data that's, again, not really relevant to NIO, such as the attacks and a lot of these companies putting out earnings, because through algorithmic trading it will. But we have Target, Best Buy, Costco, a lot of other names that the market's going to be looking at. How are consumers? What is their future guidance? Things along those lines. NIO did put out their monthly numbers today, and this is where I feel like the market is again going to be somewhat torn. So NIO provides February 2026 delivery update. So they did deliver 20,797 in February 2026, and that is an increase of 57.6% year over year. The breakdown of that, 15,001 came from NIO, 2,900 from Onvo, and then 2,600 for Firefly. So kind of very similar to last month in reality. So there's a couple of different ways how to interpret this, and I said this exact same type of mentality in January. So January's numbers were kind of seasonally low, no different than February because of Chinese New Year, blah blah blah. So seasonally it's low. So the market's going to be really torn, because in reality you should be looking at it from a year over year standpoint. So it going up 57.6% is good, at least coming from a investor standpoint. But Wall Street, which generally hates NIO, as I've kind of mentioned, they're going to be looking at it from the latter. They're going to be looking at it from, hey, these are some fairly low numbers. Like, we don't care, it's seasonally low, it's just these are low numbers. So I know this is going to be a very unpopular opinion. When I said this back in January, when the same type of situation occurred, I had so many people in the comments saying, no, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. Market's going to just take it to the moon. Unfortunately, again, the market did take it down because of that. So hopefully I am completely wrong and it just goes higher from here. But with these numbers and NIO pretty much going into this upcoming week on a key level, support level, I wouldn't be surprised if shorts just double and triple, quadruple down, and just to really try to break NIO. So again, that's just my own interpretation. You guys let me know if you disagree. But aside from that, there really hasn't been that much in kind of speculative topics. So William hasn't said anything. No other kind of members have said anything. Going into this upcoming week, 7.67% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 156.26 million shares overall are being shorted. Don't get this confused with it only being at 7.6%. They still do make up for a solid, like anywhere from around 40 to 60% of the daily volume. Shorts right now kind of dictate what happens with NIO. They're the puppet masters, unfortunately. So what they do is they always hit it hard first, break it based on the technicals, and then they kind of return throughout the day when the snowball starts. So again, they are a fairly big deal for NIO. You still see some signs of naked shorting, so 156 million shares being shorted, 148 on loan. That shouldn't happen. But right now, from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around 550 to 6. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with just NIO's numbers and maybe a certain level of optimism. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub $5. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how things do play out. With it closing at 487 last week, that means 450 and below strike prices are in the money. So you had 2,000 at the 450 and then 1,000 at the 4. So unfortunately, you're not going to see any gamma squeeze or anything along those lines. Currently, the expected move for NIO's earnings, so it's not this week, but it is March the 10th. It is currently 9.23%. So kind of a volatile earnings, so we'll have to wait and see how that does play out. Closer to that date, I'll do a dedicated video all about some expectations, what Wall Street's going to be really looking at and stuff like that. With NIO closing at 487 on Friday, it did land right on this pivot point, so 485 is going to be key support to really hold. If not, 450 is going to be the following support. Flip side, 5 is going to be that more psychological resistance, and that's linked to options, and then followed by 520. So based on Friday, we kind of did land exactly on this pivot point, as well as based on this, pretty much on that 50-day moving average. So like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if shorts really just double and triple down. So we'll have to wait and see how things do play out. If we get some good, let's say, hot topics and discussions about stimulus, nothing concrete, but at least discussions being had, then that might cause a certain level of optimism among Chinese stocks to really push things higher, maybe retest that 200-day moving average right here. But definitely for Monday and Tuesday, just watch for it to really ideally hold above that 50-day moving average. So let me know your thoughts on NIO. Where do you see things going? Are you buying, selling, holding? What's your general thoughts? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.